Hello and welcome. This is Melody from Melody Crochet, and today we're going to be crocheting the Link from Legend of Zelda hat in adult size. This is a big boy. He's a big boy. He's about 5 ounces of yarn. So you're going to be using worsted weight or Aran weight size 4 yarn and a J hook. I will go over all of that again in the materials when I start making the product with you. Down below is also a link to all of the materials you could possibly need, and I very much appreciate it when you support me by using those links down below. But alrighty, let's get started. Now, you might want to go over to my blog where I have the pattern printed out, and that way you can do a checklist, because I'll be working from my little checklist here. But you can have your own just to print out or do work from on your phone or laptop. Just so you check these up, because it's several rows. They do change frequently, just to keep yourself in order so you don't have to count over and over again. Highly suggest. So I have a pencil here so I can mark off my rows. We'll need scissors to snip off at the end. I'll be using a marker. Oftentimes I'll use one like this that is a stitch marker that opens and closes, and it has a counter on it, which is fabulous. You might want a tape measure if you want to make sure that you're in that 22-23 size head. Otherwise, you're going to want to continue growing this to 72 around. I'll show you how to do that at the time. And of course, a needle for weaving in your ends. And that's all you need. So let's get started with our hook. That is going to be a size J 6mm hook. This is my Clover Amour. I link to all my favorites down below in the description. And I do want to say thank you to everybody lately that's been using my Amazon links. Much appreciated. The yarn, like I said before, is a worsted weight acrylic yarn. Usually I use Red Heart Super Saver. That's what my original prototype for kids was from. But my son thought this was a much better green for the Link from Legend of Zelda hat. So this is Craftsmart in Kelly Green. I get it over at Michael's. I think the entire skein, it's kind of a 5 ounce massive skein, kind of like your Red Heart Super Saver. I get about 3 balls this size out of it. I think it was $1.75. They're like always on sale. And I always roll it into balls like this because I find that it kind of drags, and this way I could put this inside my little craft basket and let it just sit on the floor and roll around. It's much easier to work from than pulling from the hank of yarn or the skein of yarn or the ball of yarn or whatever you want to call it. I'm not picky about that. So first and foremost, we're going to start with our magic circle. Feel free to chain 4, slip into the first chain that you made to form a circle, chain 3, and start off with your double crochets. But I'm going to do a magic circle just so we can close that end up. So hold on to the body of the yarn around your fingers, take the tail up, under, cross, grab on, go under with that hook, over and pull, twist, and then start working over the length of yarn. I like to work over the way that has 2 strands on it. I just feel more secure. So I'm chaining 2 now. 1, 2. And since these tend to be pointy and I don't want any pulling, I'm going to chain for 3. Usually for a double crochet, I'll just chain for 2. But for these, so there's no yanking or pulling, because I do tend, the children's version tends to be very round, and I don't want the adults version to be. This is fine for the kids, but for the adults version, I really like it a bit pointier. So still working over those 2 strands of yarn. So I'm holding that tail along with my loop. I'm going to double crochet, and I want 6 total double crochets here. So yarn over, insert, drop a loop, yarn over, pull under 2, yarn over, pull under 2. And do that 5 more times, 6 total, not including that chain 3. Ooh, let me know down below who you're making this for. Here's my 6th one. Mine are usually for my sons. My husband also loves to play Zelda though, but he usually wears his regular beanies. I'm just taking that. That looked like a really tight cinching, and it kind of was, but usually I don't worry about cinching it really tightly here. I just cinch it closed. I just kind of had a little grab, so when I yanked a little bit harder to get through the grabbing of the yarn, it really cinched closed, and it fortunately worked out fine. It didn't break the yarn. But on this initial cinching, just so I can slip stitch into the first stitch of the row, I usually make it kind of a soft cinch close, if that makes good sense. Now I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch that I made in this row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right there. Yarn over, pull through everything on the hook. It's going to be a little fiddly. These are 6 double crochets in a magic circle, which means it's going to be kind of, hopefully, pointy. And we are going to chain 2. You could do 3 if you chain tightly and you think you need it for the height. But I just do chain 2, and now I'm going to put 1 double crochet in each stitch around. There's 1, then I move on to the next one, 2, keep moving around, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like I might have double crocheted into the top of my chain because that is a really big gap. Now you might run into this too. Since this is the end of a hat and there won't be any, you're not going to put anything into the point of your hat. I'm just going to go ahead and fudge it. I'm going to slip stitch right in there. And yeah, there's a hole there. But by the time we're done, you're not going to see that at all, because we are going to gradually make this bigger in such a slow rate, it's not going to matter. Now after slip stitching into the first stitch of the row, I chain 2 so we can move on. Now our next row, I have it written down, it's going to be 9, which means I'm going to be increasing every other stitch. So right here, 1 double crochet. Next one gets 2 double crochets. That's when you're increasing. Anytime you see increase on a stitch, it means do 2 in 1 stitch. That way you end up with an additional stitch. This one you can repeat 1 double crochet and then 2. Should be doing that one more time since it was 6 stitches. And there you have it. We have a little increase. And now if you count, we have 9 double crochets in this row. So slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet, yarn over, pull through everything, chain 2, and the next row is just for 9. So go ahead and count. 9, 8, these are all double crochets, the entire hat. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, and 1. There's 9 stitches in your row. Feel free to count if you'd like. As soon as it starts seeming a little longer, that's when I place the stitch marker. I'm going to slip stitch at the top of the first stitch in this row to make a round, chain 2, and we're going to increase to 12 now. So I'm going to be increasing every 3rd stitch. So a double crochet by itself, 1, a double crochet by itself in the next, but the one after that will be an increase. So 2 double crochets, 1, 2. And you're going to repeat that all the way around. And let's do that one more time. Oops, got caught down there. These hats are so fun to make and they're so cute. And you could do them in any color. Wear them for Christmas. Just a plain old elf hat any time of year. Is that just a me thing? Is that just me? Okay. But regardless, that was 12 stitches in that row. Slip stitch into the first stitch you made in this row and chain 2 so that we can start the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 row 6, which is just 2 double crochet all around. Fortunately, about every other row during our increases here is just place a double crochet in each stitch around. 12. Ooh, let me know down below if this is for you or loved one, what your favorite Legend of Zelda game is. Slip stitch into the top of the first stitch you made, chain 2, and now we're going to be increasing to 15. 1, and then 1 by itself, a third time 1 by itself, and here's that increase. Beautiful. Do that 2 more times. And we worked our way all the way around, slip stitch into the top of the first stitch we made this row, chain 2, and place a double crochet in each stitch all the way around for 15. Now I've done that all the way around, I am slip stitching into the top 1, 2 for a chain to get some height, and we are working on row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 is next, which is we get to 18. So we're going to double crochet in the first 4 stitches, so 1 time in the first 4 stitches before an increase. There's 3, there's 4, and increase. There's that. Let's do it again. 2 times. Slip stitch into the first stitch that you made, chain 2, and you're going to work all the way around, placing 1 stitch in each double crochet. That's going to be another row of 18. Sorry for the inconsistency. I just remembered editing my last video with the Clover Amours, which are fabulous. I heard them. And I'm hoping that that's not bothering you. So I went ahead and got into my tulip crochet hook. Sorry, counting and thinking at the same time. But I got into my tulips because I know that they are much smoother. They don't have that rubbed finish. And I think they'll be quieter for you guys. It's a new camera, and I'm learning that it has a better microphone, but I guess that's gonna come with a little bit of challenges too. Alrighty, here is my last stitch of the row. That was 18. I believe that was row 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Beautiful. We're gonna be going to 21 now, which means we are going to chain 2, oops, slip stitch, chain 2, and we're going to double crochet 5 times all by themselves and then do an increase. We're going to do that 3 times all the way around. You're probably noticing that this is beginning to be a pattern, literally, but it still bears a little bit of help because sometimes people have the stitches grow and just need to see it in real life. I've had this pattern on my blog for several years and still people ask me a lot of questions about it, which I'm happy to answer, but I think seeing it in person will help. So that was that. We're going to do it again. So 1 by themselves, 2 by themselves, 3 double crochet all by themselves, 4, there's 5. And let's increase 2 double crochets in this stitch. And last time, there's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then increase. And that's going to give us 21 stitches all the way around. Feel free to count if you'd like. This is also a good place to start planting a marker if you're concerned about whether or not you're getting the right number when you're crocheting around evenly. 1, 2, chaining up for height, and 21 stitches all the way around. I like to plant it right by that chain, and then I'll have a little bit more of a gap at the end of my 21, but I just cinch it up when I do my slip stitch. That's my preference. As long as you're consistent, yours is going to look great. That's the name of the game. Consistency. You can decide whatever looks best to you. You just kind of have to stick with doing the same thing over and over again. That's when things look a little muddled, when you don't have confidence in the way you like to do things. Fake it till you make it, right? It's crochet. It's supposed to be fun and relaxing. Right here's the end of my 21 because I started so early in that row right by that chain. So I just go to the top of that first double crochet, slip stitch, give it a little yank, and it closes right up. There's not going to be any tension on these stitches. This is the pokey part that's going to lay on the back of your head. It's going to close up just like that. And now you're going to increase again. We are going to go to 24, which means we are going to have 6 all by themselves. 6 double crochets, the next 6 stitches, all 6 stitches all by themselves. There's 3, 4, 5, here's 6, and then increase. Do that again 2 more times. Poof, there's that. Slip stitch into the top of the first stitch you made this row, chain 2, and you are going to crochet in each stitch around again, and it's going to end up being 24. And there we are, all the way around. Slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet that you made this row. And we're going to increase again. This time we're going to 30. So we are going to double crochet in the first 7 stitches. There we go. And you're going to double crochet increase into this next one. So 7 all by themselves, and then an increase 2 more times around. And then slip stitch into the top of the first stitch that you made and chain 2. Then you're going to crochet all the way around. There, and now we have crocheted all the way around and we have 27 stitches. We're going to slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet, and you're going to double crochet in the first 8 stitches and then increase. We're going to do that 3 times around. Slip stitch into the first stitch of the row and then double crochet all the way around, just as we have on the previous rows. And I'll meet you at the end of row 16. And we've returned, and we have completed our 30 stitches around, and then 1 time all the way. And now we're going to start a new kind of increase. So we have 30 stitches around, and we're going to take this to 36. So you're going to slip stitch into the top of the first stitch you made that row, chain 2, and in order to take this 30 stitches around to 36, we are going to double crochet in the first 4 stitches, and then increase in the one after that. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. And you're going to do that 4 more times, 6 times total. You'll end up with 36 stitches in the row, and then you're going to slip stitch, chain 2, and stitch, chain 2, and single crochet in each stitch all the way around once more. There we go, you've reached the end of row 20. Wow, this is moving along really quickly. Feel free to count your rows. Feel free to count your number of stitches if you'd like to before you move on. I'll show you a little measurement of mine just in case you're curious. This is not a reference of what kind of a head it's going to fit on because it's still a little early in the game to figure that out. But mine is measuring 6.5 when I lay it down. Maybe closer to 6 3/4. If you're working on centimeters, pretty close to 17. So just in case you're wondering if we're on the same gauge. But these hats are so stretchy, so stretchy. So don't let it worry you. Now you're going to slip stitch, chain 2, and get ready for row 21, where we are going to be increasing to 42 stitches. You're going to be double crocheting for the first 5 stitches, and then increasing all the way around 6 times. So let's get started. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then you're going to increase. And you're going to do that all the way around. It's going to be 6 times total. Then you're going to slip stitch, chain 2, and double crochet in each stitch all the way around. So that row will be 42 also. And then I'll meet you right there. And there we are all the way around on row 22. And we have 42 stitches total. And we're going to be taking this to 48 now. So we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first stitch of the row, chain 2, and in the first 6 stitches, you're going to double crochet all by themselves. And then you're going to do the increase on the 7th stitch. You're going to repeat that all the way around. Then of course slip stitch, chain 2, and double crochet in each stitch around, and that's going to be 48 total. 4, 5, 6, and increase. You're going to repeat this 6 times around, and then you're going to slip stitch, chain 2, and double crochet in each of those 48 stitches around. And I'll meet you at the end of that. Alrighty, we have now ended row 24. We're going to slip stitch into the first stitch of the row, chain 2, and we are going to take this from 48 to 54 stitches. And that means we are going to double crochet in the first 7 stitches and then increase double crochet in the 8th. Let's do that together. Here's 5, 6, 7, and here's number 8. So you're going to increase, so 2 double crochets in there, and you're going to repeat that 6 times all the way around. Slip stitch, chain 2, and then you're going to double crochet 1 time in each stitch all the way around for row 26. So this is row 25. Row 26 will be 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way around. And I will meet you at the end of that. And we are almost to the full width of our hat. So we're getting there, guys. You're doing great. Here we are at the top of row 26, ready to slip stitch and chain 2 to start row 27. Now we had 54 stitches in the prior row. This row you're going to have 60. So once again, we're going to be increasing with a pattern that we repeat 6 times. It's going to be 8 double crochets all by themselves, followed by 1 increase. You're going to do that 6 times, followed by another row of working 1 double crochet into each of the 60 stitches. So this is row 27, the 8 stitches followed by an increase all the way around, and row 28 is just 1 double crochet in the top of each of the 60 stitches. I'm going to go ahead and get this started, and then I will meet you on the top of row 28, the 60 stitches around. Here's our increase. That's what she looks like. And you're going to repeat that 5 more times. Okay, here is the end of row 28. We're going to slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet of this row, chain 2 to raise up just as we have in the past. Now we need this to increase to 66. Right now it's 60. So we are going to double crochet into the first 9 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, that was 3. 4. And here's 9. Now we're going to increase. So 9 all by themselves and then an increase all the way around. It'll be 6 times total. Now the hat after this will have 66 stitches around. And then we're going to go for some length. That's going to be as wide as we take this. Now if you are making this for a man or a woman, perhaps she has a lot of hair, it happens too. Some of us just need a wider than average hat. If you do, then after this row, you would just increase 1 more time. Of course, if you would like to take one of those rows where you do it 1 time around after you get to 66, and then take it, chain 2, double crochet in the first 10, and then an increase, that is going to leave you with 72 stitches around, and that's going to be your extra large size hat. These are very stretchy. Don't worry too much about measurements, but if you know if the person has a larger than average head or more hair than average, go ahead and make the one that's 72 around. It's not necessary for anyone I know that's going to be wearing this. My son, he's a big guy. He could still wear this hat. We're talking about a significantly larger hat required than average. Alrighty, so that being said, we're taking ours to 66, and then we're going to go for a little bit of length. So I'm going to finish this row and get me to 66, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch of the row, chain 2, and I'm going to crochet around in each 66 for row, let's see, this is 29. That would be row 30, and we're going to do that 5 times total. So this is 29. This is going to be row 30 through 34 is going to be just crocheting around for 66 stitches. Okay. I went ahead and just did 4 rows instead of the 5. This hat's for me, and I was just noticing that 4 was going to suit me just fine. So here's that row where we did the increase. That was row 29. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of just crocheting around instead of that 5 I mentioned before. Feel free to do it at 4 or 5, whichever you feel comfortable with. But this hat is starting to look like it needed to stop. Just my opinion. But we're going to go ahead and move on. Whether you did 5 rows around, 4 rows around, 6 rows around, whatever you feel comfortable with, you're going to slip stitch into the top of the first stitch of this row. Chain 2 for height, and now we're going to make the ribbed edging so that it actually clings onto your head. If you did try this on, you probably noticed it's pretty gappy. So we need a ribbed edging so that it can kind of hold on. It just helps a little bit. So we're going to do some front post, back post, double crochets. I'm going to show you the first row, how you work around a regular double crochet, and then I'll show you the next row because that's going to be working around the ribbing, so they're different than one another. So let's start with how you start front post, back post, double crochet. So I have that chain 2. I'm yarn over. We'll start with the front post. Now this is the post right here, these little guys right here. This is where you usually put the stitches, but this is the post. That's what we're going to work around. So the front post means you're working around the post from the front. So I've yarned over since it's double crochet. I go in and around that post. I grab my yarn and draw up a loop. Then I complete my double crochet, which is a little fiddly with these, I'll admit. The next one is going to be a back post. So you've worked with this post. Now you're going on to the next one. Now from the back, you're going to show your hook, go around. This is what it looks like from the back. This is from the front. And now complete yarn over, drop a loop, and complete a double crochet. Next one is just like the first. Work around that post from the front. And then the back. And this texturing really makes a big difference in how this hat's going to hold onto your head. You're going to do this all the way around, and then I will show you how to complete the next row. It's very similar, but you're going to want to see it just to see if what you're doing looks how it should, just for reference. I'm sure you're going to do just fine though. So complete this row, and I will meet you at the end of this row and show you how we slip stitch. And I've completed my row all the way around. So now we're going to bind. This can get very confusing. I have done that back post double crochet behind this post right here. This is my chain, as is this. It looks like there's a lot between here and here where I'm going to be placing that slip stitch. So many places you could accidentally place it. So find that first ribbed stitch that stands out. It looks like that. And that's what you're going to place the slip stitch into. Give it a little tug and it'll close everything right up. Chain 2 for height. And now you don't really have to pay too much attention because you can kind of tell this is a front post. It stands up, and this is a back post. It's recessed. Now we're going to do a double crochet around this post. That's him right there. You could tell the post, this is the one of the previous row, and this is the new one. They look a little short, and that's normal, but easy to see. And you're just going to do that front post double crochet right there. Then you're going to yarn over, go behind, peek through, grab that yarn to do a double crochet in back. Let's see if we can get better focus even. Here's a front post, double crochet, and then a back post, double crochet. And you are going to be doing this around for this row and then 2 more. So go ahead and complete this row, slip stitch, chain 2, and complete 2 more rows just like them, and I will see you in just a moment to show you what's next. And here we are after 4 total rows. Looks like 5, but it's not. This is that first one that was not a front post double crochet or a back post double crochet. It just looks like it because it was pulled up by the stitch. And it's 4 rows of front post and back post double crochet ribbing. So here's where we're going to, let's go ahead and close it up first. Then we'll take a peek. So here's the top of that first front post double crochet. So slip into that. Hopefully this is nice and clean. If it's not, you'll get it with time, don't worry. Slip stitch into that. Yarn over, pull through to finish off. Grab your scissors. Snip on the left side of your loop. Pull it through and tighten it. Now we are looking at the outside, so the nice side. Here's a looser view of this. This is the seam that we've created all along. Now I did that 1 row less. Remember I did 4 instead of 5 right here on my measurements. Are just under 22 inches long. And this right here will be wider than the brim. This is 11 and a half inches wide. And this right here, it will have pulled in just a little bit. This is 10 and a half inches wide at the edge. So it kind of pulls in a little bit. Now I'm going to do a quick fasten off, just to show you how I do it. I go on the inside. We're looking at the outside. I go on the inside. I go in through the stitch, and then I wiggle my way around the post work. And then I go through some of these up here and back the way I came. I came out right here, so I'm going back by skipping that one I came out of, going back. And it all but disappears, but it's very secure even through a wash. Go ahead and snip close to the seam. And let's look what we have here. Isn't it beautiful? You will lay on the head like this and drape lovely, nice and pointy. And I'm very, very pleased. Hopefully you like it too. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below. If you like it a little bit smaller, but don't like my children's hat, feel free to go down. Ooh, my boo-boo. Feel free to go down a hook size. This is worsted weight yarn, as we went through before. This is a J hook. Go for an I hook. You'll take off maybe an inch or 2, and it'll be a little bit more taut. But I like them nice and droopy because it's supposed to look rather large, because it looks kind of large on link. So that's the goal with this. And I love that ribbed edging. I hope you do too. If you'd like to see me review anything in particular that you've seen lately, please leave that down in the comments. If you like this kind of video with an introduction for new and experienced crocheters, please give me a like. I very much appreciate it. And if you like all things crochet just like me, go ahead and subscribe so we can hang out and you'll know as soon as I post a video. Thanks for coming by. Take very good care, and I'll see you tomorrow.